So first of all, thank you for having me around here. First question is going to be to Jarrod. I was making a few searches before coming around, and I saw that Orlando, it's really like has shown the opportunity to the world, like how to be a football team and to can provide to the fans a game day, a match day with all the digital experiences, sponsorships, and all that stuff. So how do you think Brazilian clubs can look after that and be like, okay, we can do that around here too? So how Brazilian clubs can learn from it?
Yeah, and I think it goes both ways. So I think the American clubs can learn a lot from Brazilian clubs. That was my first match that I went to last night to see Galo at MRV, and I learned a lot. And I've been working in professional sports in America for 25 years, Major League Baseball, NFL, National Hockey League, and now both men and women's soccer. And that was one of the best environments that I've been in. It was tremendous, the fans, the supporters. So I think there are some things we can learn walking around. I love the technology that MRV has with the facial recognition and all those extra things. I think one of the differences in American sports, just from what I've experienced going around the world versus working in the US, is in our arenas and in our stadiums, we try to provide as much extra entertainment that the team, the club, the stadium, maybe a little less of the fans chanting, singing, those type of things. Luckily, we do have that in soccer in the US, but not really in any other sport. And so I think being a US sports marketer, you're used to that environment where you're having to do different things to keep people's attention, music or games on the video board and things of that nature. That is one thing I think the US does very well. When you come to a stadium or you come to a match, it's the entire fan journey, customer journey. So from the moment you pull up, parking, how you're treated by different people that work there, security, food and beverage experience, especially if you're in the premium seats, suites, etc. The entertainment value, what's going on in the game, what's going on, not just the match or the game itself, what else is going on. Having different interactive stations and kiosks for your fans when they get up to go to get some food or take a drink or whatever it may be, to interact with them. I think that's one of the things I've experienced in US that I think we do really well. It's the whole experience. And we joke about this in the US, but our job on the business side, we don't control what happens on the field. As fans, we all know people that are very passionate are going to come to a match and they're going to be very happy or very upset when they leave if they win or lose. Our job is to make sure they have a great experience and they're treated very well no matter what the result is. We can control those other things, not the result on the pitch, right? So that's what we try to focus on, I think, from a sports entertainment standpoint in the US.
And then talking about the revenues of the teams around here in Brazil, a lot of the money that comes inside the team comes from the TV and also the players' sales. So
that's right.
How can Brazilian teams try to make things different and start to have another kind of revenues such as stadium and digital experiences? How can they do it?
There's a number of ways, but you're right. I think the U.S. has kind of led the way in sports in general on the commercial side and generating sponsorship dollars, corporate partners, ticket sales, premium seating. Premium seating in the United States is one of the biggest revenue sources for every sports team. So general tickets is important, but the higher end tickets of clubs and suites and the seats that are all inclusive with their food and beverage included, people, at least we have found in the US and markets that I've worked in, will pay a premium. They'll pay a lot more for that convenience. How easy can I get in? How close can I park? How easy is it to get out so I don't deal with parking when I leave, or traffic, when I leave? The food and beverage, they want a fine dining restaurant type of experience while they happen to be at a sporting match. So that is where you can really provide those additional dollars of revenue on the premium seating side. And I would say the special experiences is very popular in the US as well. Taking premium clients down to the field on the pitch before a match, being able to go stand in the press room for the press conference with a player or a coach and be there to observe it in the background. meet a player, get an autograph. How do you monetize those opportunities as a sports team? I think the U.S. does a very good job of that across all of our leagues. You mentioned the stadium opportunities. I saw a little bit of that with a brand new stadium with MRV. I was very impressed. But the other part of that is the development, the real estate development around your building. What else? We call it in the U.S. mixed use development, whether it's residential, apartments, condos, office space like this, restaurants, bars. What are other things you can offer your fans so that they come 3 or 4 hours early and they're spending money there and they stay for 2 hours after the match? So that's another area that I think the U.S., other sporting leagues can kind of learn from.
Agora, para você, Pedro, eu vou perguntar em português. A gente sabe que uma das maiores diferenças entre as ligas, principalmente lá nos Estados Unidos e aqui no Brasil, é a relação dos times com a construção da liga em si. Lá existe uma união, pode-se dizer assim, muito maior em relação a patrocínios. Todos são patrocinados pela mesma fornecedora esportiva, todos têm uma cota muito parecida, se não igual, e aqui existe uma fragmentação, uma divisão muito grande. Hoje essa fragmentação ela está ainda maior, tem uma questão da liga forte, né, da Libra. Então, como que você enxerga isso aqui no Brasil e como que isso pode ser maléfico, talvez, para os times, ao passo de que existe mais uma desunião do que uma união, e como que isso lá nos Estados Unidos tem influenciado de maneira positiva a liga a crescer da forma que vem crescendo nos últimos anos e atraindo cada vez mais os grandes nomes do futebol mundial?
Sim. Eu acho que, em geral, o grande lance da liga é você construir um produto liga mais forte. No fim das contas, a gente está competindo com entretenimento. Né? Não é só futebol, não é só basquete competindo com futebol americano. A gente está competindo com Netflix, com filmes. E cada vez, se você trouxer todos os times e construir um produto em que todos os jogos sejam interessantes, porque todos os times são fortes, todos os times são relevantes, todos os times têm chance de ganhar, isso passa a ser um produto mais atraente para os parceiros comerciais, seja televisão, seja parceiros comerciais como patrocinadores, até para os torcedores, né? Você vai ter 20, 30 diferentes cidades com grandes jogos acontecendo, grandes eventos. Então acho que nos Estados Unidos a gente parte desse pressuposto de que a gente está construindo um produto juntos. Os donos são sócios, os donos de cada clube são sócios uns dos outros. Isso não só ajuda você a compartilhar melhores práticas, né, e ajudar o outro a crescer para construir um produto melhor, mas também eu acho que tem essa distribuição de renda, tem todos esses mecanismos de balanço competitivo que fazem o produto dentro de campo também ser mais atraente. Então acho que já existe esse entendimento aqui no Brasil de que esse é um caminho que tem vários benefícios. Agora é muito mais fácil você começar dessa forma, como a MLS começou 30 anos atrás, e só existia esse modelo, do que você ter times com 100 anos de história e tentar criar isso depois de eles já terem desenvolvido vantagens competitivas perante a outros times. Então, acho que esse é o grande lance, como a gente vai conseguir convencer os grandes times a entender a importância do produto liga como um todo, ao invés de só focar nos seus jogos, né, na sua receita.
Now, this question is for both of you. Something I was even talking with a few people from other teams here in Brazil is how to try to make children and teenagers closer to football, to soccer nowadays, because they are less interested in things that take too long. So I've seen a lot of parents saying, my son, my child, she or he is a fan, but he cannot watch a game for the whole 90 minutes. Right. So this is a huge challenge, and a lot of teams here in Brazil, including Atlético, they are trying to do something different, to work with games, with esports, with digital, with apps. So how do you see that? How do Orlando does this stuff to get around with the children, to get around with the teenagers, to the young people that they just cannot stay 90 minutes watching a football game?
I'll let Pedro touch on some of the video games and esports that we're doing, but I think we try to approach it a couple different ways. So we know there's kids that still are interested in soccer or want to learn more about it. So we have a number of soccer schools where we work with them to teach kids. What are we up to now? 14,000 roughly? 13,000
kids in our network.
In our city that are playing under Orlando City or Orlando Pride, our women's team. And we offer different levels of soccer education and different levels of access for that. We have after-school programs for free that we work with the public schools to go into the schools, have former coaches, former players go in and teach staff, go in and teach the game of soccer and learn more about it. We have a couple different programs that allows kids to come out for maybe their first match if they haven't been before, or if they wouldn't be able to maybe afford to come as a family otherwise. We'll provide that because we very much believe that when you come and you engage and you come to a match, you're going to love it and you're going to want to come back. So that's kind of the part of the group that we want to get more involved with day to day. Pedro can speak a little more to the kids that you're talking about, that now I'm going to play with my video games and how do we embrace that. We have a video game night. We have an esports player, that participates in those. But so we try to attack it from two different angles.
Português.
Pode ser.
Acho que a gente tem dois pontos. A questão do esportes, a gente tem uma liga, a MLS tem uma liga de esportes que é basicamente estruturada da mesma forma que a liga dentro de campo, então cada time tem o seu jogador que representa o seu clube e eles competem num torneio de FIFA, né, de EFC agora, EFC. E eu acho que essa é uma porta de entrada, principalmente para os fãs que não entendem muito de futebol, não jogam, mas eles começam a conhecer os jogadores, entender um pouco mais sobre o esporte. Então a gente vê muita gente vindo ao nosso jogo porque jogou, conheceu os jogadores através do jogo. Então a gente está tentando trabalhar esse lado, mas eu acho que um lado muito importante de atingir o público jovem também é como você cria conteúdo, né? Hoje em dia, o público jovem às vezes não tem a paciência ou o tempo de assistir 90 minutos de um jogo. Ele quer assistir os melhores momentos, né? Ou ele quer assistir os cortes, ou ele quer assistir vídeos no TikTok ou Instagram Reels, que é behind the scenes, né? Quer ver as coisas que você não consegue ver através da transmissão da televisão. Então, como a gente consegue oferecer esse tipo de conteúdo também, para que às vezes esses jovens não estão assistindo jogos, mas eles estão consumindo, seguindo a gente nas mídias sociais, que a gente também pode monetizar e também pode ajudar a trazer eles para o estádio dessa forma. Então acho que esse é um ponto importante, a produção de conteúdo crítica nesse sentido.
I'm going to talk about a little bit of female soccer that
great.
is huge in the US and Brazil. It's getting better right now. We're getting better teams, but in the US, Orlando Pride, it's a great example of how female soccer can work properly. You have Marta over there. So how do you see it as a long term? Like, can Orlando Pride maybe be bigger than Orlando City?
Yes, I think it's a great question, and we're fortunate to have Marta, Rafaeli, Angelina. We've had many great Brazilian players, so we like to come here and scout too on the soccer side. But I think if you look at where the league and where the Orlando Pride were just a couple years ago, 3-4 years ago, how far we've come since then. We were averaging 3,000, maybe 3,500 fans per game. We're now around 10,000. And the league is continuing to grow. There's some markets in the league that are averaging 15 to 20,000, right? Outdrawing consistently the men's team in town. The corporate sponsor piece, sponsors like our friends at Inter coming on, sponsor both teams. We've tripled in that amount of time, tripled our corporate sponsors for the Orlando Pride over the last 4 years since our owners took over. It starts with investment. So if you want to make it long-term, you have to invest in your own product. You have to invest in the staff. You have to invest in the marketing budget. You have to invest in the resources to have a focus. And that's where some American teams, Orlando Pride in the past, have failed a little bit, is when you're doing both, not putting enough attention towards each. And so we have really ramped up our resources and our staffing to focus solely on the women's team. And we have a different group that focus on the men's team, and then we have a group that does both. And I think with that you've seen the business growth. Then the second part of it is being more involved in the business community, making sure the Orlando Pride crest is out there. Players, our sporting director, our coach, going out speaking at business events along with us, not just the business people, right? Bringing the players and the coaches and the sporting director to the business community, because ultimately those are the folks that can help us bring more people out to the games. So that's very much kind of our strategy on how we've been able to get to where we are now. obviously the team helped us tremendously, winning the championship last year and having multiple, nominations.
The Ballon d'Or.
The Ballon d'Or, and now we're just trying to continue to capitalize on that and grow it.
Yeah, and when you talk about the investments here in Brazil, it's a bit harder to talk about that because the investments in the United States, they start when the girls are just kids.
Yeah.
At schools, at universities, they have all these programs that help them.
Yes.
So here in Brazil, we don't have that. So the girls who want to be soccer players, they have to do a lot of things, just like the guys, but it's even harder.
Yeah.
So how do you think Brazilian teams can help with that? Because it's really hard for universities, for schools to have this kind of infrastructure, like because the college football in the US is just huge, and here it's not.
I think it's just trying to figure out the ways that the club can work with, whether it's schools, whether it's business community, whoever that is, to create more opportunities to play. It doesn't have to be a full competitive league. It could be an hour after school of free teaching practice. Kids that don't have a league to play in or a team to play on or a normal field to go to be able to open the doors to be able to allow some of that training opportunity and to create those opportunities working with the private sector as well. There are a lot of corporate partners, sponsors that want to be involved in that. They can have their brand right alongside the club out there in the community, and people in the community see them doing the good work. It's all about creating more opportunities to play. In the U.S., you're right, we've been very spoiled. The college system has been, our development league, for lack of a better term. But now you're starting to see the professional women's teams start their own academies. All of our soccer schools, all of our after-school programs, all incorporate the girls in the Orlando Pride as well. In the next couple of years in the U.S., they'll probably be in our league second teams, right? Or called a U20 team. So creating more opportunities to play, I think, is the key.
E aí agora, falando um pouquinho para você, Pedro, eu queria entender um pouco mais sobre visão de mercado, porque você, como essa questão toda do marketing do Orlando City, é um time que hoje tem uma visibilidade gigantesca e começou essa visibilidade há muitos anos atrás. Eu lembro bem, acho que eu tinha uns 14 anos ali, quando o Kaká foi pro Orlando City e eu nem conhecia o Orlando City, para ser bem sincero, e quando eu vi o Kaká indo para lá, eu falei, olha, interessante. E hoje, inclusive, eu sou uma das pessoas que cobre a MLS lá na Itatiaia, então, em relação ao marketing do time, que não passa apenas pelos grandes jogadores chegando lá, como que um time brasileiro, e eu não vou nem falar dos times grandes aqui do Brasil, porque se eu for falar de Atlético, de Cruzeiro, de Flamengo, de Corinthians, é muito fácil, porque são times que têm torcidas gigantes, são times que têm investimentos muito maiores, mas um time talvez de não tanta expressão, como alavancar esse marketing para poder primeiro trazer os fãs que estão perto e depois talvez atrair os fãs que estão um pouco mais longe?
Acho que tudo começa, um clube de futebol é uma bandeira de uma cidade ou de um estado, ele é um representante da cultura daquele local. E eu acho que a construção de uma base de fãs tem que passar primeiro pelo filtro de estamos representando a nossa cidade ou a nossa região da maneira correta. As pessoas que moram aqui se sentem representadas ou não. E isso passa por vários elementos de cultura, Cultura tem o pilar da comida, tem o pilar da música, tem o pilar da arte. E eu acho que é importante os clubes entenderem como eles estão se expressando e se em cada um desses pilares culturais eles estão representando a cultura local. Por exemplo, o nosso estádio, todas as comidas e restaurantes dentro do nosso estádio representam os pequenos negócios que vendem comida na nossa cidade. Então a gente tem uma taqueria, que é a melhor taqueria da cidade, a gente traz para dentro do estádio. A gente tem a melhor hambúrguer da cidade, a gente traz para dentro do estádio. Então a gente quer que as pessoas, não só a gente quer levar os negócios locais e dar uma plataforma para eles sentirem que o clube está ajudando a cidade a crescer, a se desenvolver, mas a gente também quer que as pessoas que venham ao jogo sintam que o sabor, por exemplo, no caso da comida no nosso estádio, representa as comidas que eles gostam quando eles estão indo no seu bar preferido, no seu restaurante preferido. É a mesma coisa na arte, por exemplo, todas as nossas artes de pôsteres de cada jogo, ou que a gente faz nas mídias sociais, a gente sempre tenta trabalhar com artistas locais. Porque a gente dá uma plataforma para eles poderem crescer, ganhar dinheiro e sobreviverem, mas também porque representam a nossa comunidade que a gente vive, que a gente trabalha. Então, eu acho que esse é um filtro que está começando a crescer mais no Brasil, mas eu não acho que ainda os clubes poderiam melhorar e fazer mais disso e ter isso mais como um filtro super importante em tudo que eles fazem, em todas as áreas do clube. Então, acho que isso para os clubes, principalmente para os clubes pequenos, obviamente, como você falou, os clubes grandes já têm 100 anos de história, já tem essa conexão com a cidade, já tem grandes torcidas, mas os clubes menores, por exemplo, um clube como o Bragantino, com o Red Bull, que ainda não está começando, apesar do Bragantino ter uma história agora com o Red Bull, eles têm essa oportunidade de construir uma nova marca, né? Eu acho que essa conexão com a comunidade local é muito importante. Se você for pensar uma marca global como o Manchester United, por exemplo, eles começaram como um time da fábrica local que representava o que a cidade significava. E quando isso encheu o estádio, começaram a passar a ser uma marca global. Isso perdeu um pouco desse apelo, porque agora você vira uma marca gigante, mas você tem que pensar onde que começa a conexão. Eu acho que começa em se representar o lugar que você se encontra.
And now, talking a little bit about the financial point, how do you believe the U.S. is more attractive for investors than Brazil nowadays? Because, of course, there's all about the currency and all that stuff. But, for example, next year you're going to have a World Cup at the United States. And the investments are going to come. The league is growing up. So how do you see the U.S. Taking a step forward, other leagues, not just Brazil, maybe other leagues in South America, other leagues in Europe, such as Netherlands, something like that. So how do you see the investments coming through the teams, and how does it work? Why is the US becoming such a big thing in football as well?
I think the U.S. has a strong reputation, I think, around the world of being a very good sports and entertainment kind of supported country. It's a big part of our culture. The sports may be different where you go, but you look at the success of the NFL, right? And you look at even Major League Baseball and the NBA, and there's a lot of proven track record there. Soccer is still relatively young professionally in the United States. I think MLS has been around 29 years now. The Women's League, the National Women's Soccer League, has been around 13 or so. Our clubs have only been around, our teams for a little over 10 years. 10 for the women, and gosh, if you go back all the way to 14. Yeah, 14. So I think when you see how much they've grown, in particular the last couple of years, so many venues being built, the investment put into infrastructure helps make those events easier to have. So for soccer to continue to become more and more relevant, American soccer around the world, I think you need that investment in those big marquee events that people watch. Because we realize folks in Brazil or England or wherever they may not be watching MLS every weekend or the NWSL. So when you can put on FIFA Club World Cup, as we did this past year, and Orlando was the only city in the United States that had 2 stadiums with games. We hosted games at Inter&CO Stadium, and then the other stadium in town had a few. You spoke about the Men's World Cup coming next year, and then you have the Olympics coming in 28, Women's World Cup coming in 31. It's a long runway to continue that momentum. And so if I'm thinking about it from an investment, in particular a marketing investment, a company that wants to be around that, I don't look at, here's one event over the course of 2 months of the summer. I'm seeing this as a platform that I could attach my brand to for 7+ years, right? And really invest as the platform of soccer in America. So I think it's been very strategic, very smart how our owners in both of our leagues have worked with U.S. Soccer, the Federation, and the leagues to bring and help lure FIFA and these other events here to the United States. And I also think this is an investment for the long term. Yes, people will make money and all those things will happen, but I think for us at the local club level, when you think about just Orlando, why do those events matter to Orlando? Orlando's not even a World Cup city for the men's side. It remains to be seen. We hope it will be on the women's side in 2031. We'll see. It's about creating the opportunities to engage new fans and then keep them long term and turn them into MLS and Orlando City fans or turn them into Orlando Pride fans. So how do we work at the local level, and that's what Pedro and his team do on the marketing side, to get these people into our funnel, and we start that what we call the fan journey with them. And whether that's they're looking at some social media, they're buying a jersey, or they're coming to a match, how do we continue to work them up what we like to call the fandom ladder and get them up to the top where they become a passionate diehard fan.
Yeah, and talking about this ladder,
Yeah.
there are a lot of,
Yeah.
of things that are attached to it,
Yep.
but when it comes to fan base,
Mm-hmm.
I strongly believe that Brazil it's something that you need to learn
Yes,
from it.
yes.
So how can you learn from Brazil? You were at the stadium
Yeah.
yesterday. So
Yeah.
what are you gonna take back to the
Yes.
U.S. after
Yeah.
coming here
Yep.
and seeing all the atmosphere, everything that the fans do,
Yeah.
how the city becomes in a game day here?
Yeah.
What can you learn and what can you take back there?
So a couple things that I learned just in my short trip here, and keep in mind one match. I'd like to go experience more and see more to learn more. The stadium I mentioned earlier, I was really interested in the technology they have, the facial recognition, the way that you can purchase drinks on the concourse from someone walking around and then walk up and go get them at the counter. You don't have to wait in line. How do you make it a seamless, make it easy, less friction for your fans to spend money with you, to have a good time? We saw some great examples of that last night. I think the takeaway for me too that I saw there was just the passion of the fans, the supporters, and the singing and the chanting and how that comes out so strong. We do a good job of it in the US, but I think this last night was a great example of how much more we can do. And I think that's not an easy answer, right? You just don't, people don't just show up and naturally do that. It's the culture. They learn it, it's passed down. They learn from each other, family, friends. And so it's investing in our relationships with our fans, with our season ticket members. I learned a really interesting fact last night. I did not know this. In Brazil, the concept of being a season ticket holder or a season pass holder, where you have your set one seat for every game, the whole season, is not something that's as familiar here. I did not know that. That's very normal in American professional sports. So there might be a lower season ticket number of people, but they have a massive membership group, right? And those people come out to games on their own, but maybe aren't as committed. So in my mind goes to how do we become less rigid, a little more flexible on allowing opportunities for people to come. You get the full season, you come to every game. Well, what happens if you don't come to every game? You feel like you wasted your money probably. So how are we innovating? How are we creating new products that allow people to be more flexible with their time, with their schedules? A lot of tech companies, Inter does that in the financial services, right? Like make it easy for people, right? And they will engage with you. I think that's a lesson us in US sports can take away from what I've seen in my short time here.
Agora, para fechar com você, Pedro, eu queria falar um pouquinho sobre a questão de levar os times brasileiros para lá, né? A gente teve durante muito tempo aí a Florida Cup e aí esse ano a FC Series, e inclusive a gente teve um clássico, né, lá no Inter&CO. Mas aí a partir do ano que vem, o calendário brasileiro vai mudar. O Campeonato Brasileiro vai começar a partir do dia 28 de janeiro, o que é muito cedo. Antes começava por volta de março, abril. Então esse calendário ele vai ser antecipado, o que dificulta muito, né, para que times brasileiros consigam sair daqui e fazer uma pré-temporada fora do Brasil, né, porque exige toda uma questão de viagem, de adaptação e tudo mais. Então, como que você vê nesse momento as dificuldades, talvez, para um futuro de levar de volta, né, os times brasileiros para os Estados Unidos, até para os fãs, né? Orlando, a gente sabe, tem muitos brasileiros, todos os jogos que tiveram lá de times brasileiros esse ano e nos últimos anos estavam cheios, tinham torcida. Então, quais vão ser os principais desafios, ao seu ver, nesse momento de mudança do calendário que vai antecipar tudo a partir do ano que vem?
Eu acho que os calendários estão todos em fluxo assim, de mudança. Eu acho que a Copa do Mundo vai dificultar para todas as ligas. Então, acho que ano que vem vai ser um ano atípico. Mas quando a gente tiver um calendário um pouco mais consolidado, espero que em 2027, acho que a gente vai conseguir estruturar isso um pouquinho melhor, tanto do lado da MLS quanto do lado aqui do Brasil. eu espero que a gente também consiga trazer os nossos times para cá no futuro e que o torcedor brasileiro tenha interesse em ver um time diferente, né? Jogar, obviamente, sempre vai querer ver os clássicos e jogar alguns jogos com os times tradicionais, mas jogar contra um time que nunca jogou aqui no país e eu espero que isso passe a ter um pouco de um apelo maior, agora com o nível da MLS e a NWSL sendo uma das maiores ligas do mundo no futebol feminino, também atrair agora com o futebol feminino crescendo aqui, trazer os melhores talentos, uma jogadora como a Marta, ou a Angelina, que é a capitã da seleção aqui hoje, por que não trazer o Orlando Pride para jogar e o Orlando City ao mesmo tempo para jogar com um time aqui e ter mais flexibilidade de calendário no nosso lado para poder vir, né, já que a nossa, talvez para a temporada, tenha um pouco mais de flexibilidade. Então, acho que a gente vai ter que se encontrar nessas mudanças de calendário e estar aberto talvez a outras épocas do ano que façam mais sentido. Mas eu acho que esse intercâmbio dos dois lados, tanto os times americanos vindo para cá quanto brasileiros para lá, acho que é enriquecedor para ambas as torcidas, assim.